Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to look at the last deck from Eldritch Moon, and the last intro pack overall, which is Weapons and Wards, which is a white and green deck. Let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 21 creatures, 6 enchantments, 2 sorceries, 4 artifacts, 2 instants, and 25 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there. Let's dive in and start looking at the deck. So, we've got 2 Crossroads Consecrator, so 1 green mana for a 1/2. You can spend 1 green and tap it. Target attacking human gets +1/+1 till end turn. Yeah, I think this is perfectly fine as for a 1-drop. It's a fairly useful effect. Yeah, like it's we're in a Strad. Green white usually means humans, so pretty much all the creatures in the deck are humans. There is one notable one who isn't, and we'll get to that. Don't worry. But yeah, I think it's a perfectly fine effect to have on a 1-drop. I think it's okay. It's not too exciting, but it's just solid, isn't it? Then we've got 2 Hamlet Captain, 1 and a green for a 2/2. This is a reprint from original Innistrad. Whenever it attacks or blocks, other humans you control get +1/+1 turn 10. So nice, like Anthem effect whenever it attacks or blocks. Yeah, I think it's just again very very solid. Like it's just a 2/2 for 2, isn't it? So it's yeah, it's fine, perfectly fine. And then 2 Intrepid Provisioners, 3 and a green for a 3/3 with Trample. When it enters the battlefield, another target human you control gets +2/+2 to end turn. So being a 3/3 with Trample for 4 is like fairly solid anyway. But like the ETB effect as well to give something +2/+2 to end turn is also pretty good. So you could nicely you could play something turn 3 and then turn 4 drop this and then swing the boosted thing. Yeah, I think that's a nice play to curve into. So yeah, like there's 2 of these. I think that's a pretty solid little card. We've got 2 Thraben Standard Bearers, 1 white mana for a 1/1. You can spend one and a white, tap, discard a card, and you make a 1/1 human soldier token. I'm not overwhelmed by this. I mean, it's a 1-drop. What do you expect from 1-drop? Technically, any ability a 1-drop has is a benefit, right? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is a little overcosted for its effect. Like, either be 1 white and tap, or like discard a card and tap. Like, I don't know, if this ability was very overcosted just to make a single 1/1 token. Like, I don't know. Going back to the Spell Shapers, all the way like back in Mercadian Masks, like for 1 and white, tap, discard a card. This could have been Raise the Alarm. It could have been two soldier creature tokens, but maybe that's me being a bit greedy. I don't super like this card, honestly. Again, I sort of said this in the last video when looking at the News Constructor. I suppose it's better to have this ability and never use it rather than need it and not have it, I suppose, if we're going to be generous. We've got a single Sigardian Priest, 1 and white for a 1/2. You spend 1 and tap it to tap target non-human creature. I really like this actually because it's a reference to in originally Innistrad the Abyssinian Priest, who was exactly this card, like same like cost, same power toughness, same ability. But yeah, I really like it because Abyssin's gone. Obviously, all the priests are now they love Sigarda. Sigarda's their new angel mummy, and yeah, it's just I like that kind of like lore reference. Yeah, aside from that, it's just a really solid master decoy ability just to tap something down with a very very small restriction for not much mana, which is not really an effect we're seeing at this time in the game anymore, because like it's either those tap down effects are either very expensive or they have limitations. Like as to what can be tapped down, like in terms of like power or toughness or whatever, or are tied to like an attack trigger. So this is actually kind of a bit of a anomaly for this card to exist the way it is, I think. So we got a single Courageous Outrider, so 3 and a white for a 3/4. When it ends the battlefield, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, you may reveal a human card from amongst them, put it into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom of your library in any order. Yep, this is just very solid, this kind of herald effect, which is just nice, just to look at the top 4, hopefully get a human out, and then the rest go on the bottom. I like that they go on the bottom rather than being in the graveyard, even though I know logically putting them on the bottom of the library is worse because having it in the graveyard makes them more accessible to certain cards. But yeah, it's fine. And yeah, it's also just like 4 mana for 3/4, like so fairly solid stats. Yeah, this is okay. A single Inspiring Captain, 3 and a white for 3/3. When it ends the battlefield, creature you control get +1/+1 till end turn. Yep, so kind of like along the line of the Intrepid Provisioners, I suppose. Like it's a 4-drop, it's a 3/3, and it boosts stuff. Except in this case, it's boosting your whole board. So yeah, this is solid. I think it's just a pretty good common creature. We've got 2 Fiend Binders, 3 and a white for a 3/2. Whenever it attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. Yep, sure. So, like, this is your I was going to say Master Decoy. Seasoned Marshal is the one I was always refer to, or Master of Diversions, something like that. But yeah, in any case, this ability is just solid. You just attack with it, get the big blocker out of the way before it can block. Yeah, it's just solid, isn't it? It's just okay. And a single Steadfast Cathar, 1 and white for a 2/1. Whenever it attacks, it gets +0/+2 turn 10, so 2/3 when it attacks normally. Yeah, it's okay. Just sure. Just 2/3 when it attacks. Perfectly fine. Right. So there is a very, very minor, and we'll talk about that, very minor aura and equipment theme in the deck as well. So we've got 2 Ironclad Slayers, so 2 and a white for a 3/2. When it ends the battlefield, you may return a aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. And a single Militant Inquisitor, 2 and a white for a 2/3. It gets +1/+0 for every equipment you control. We'll see the problem with that when we get in, because let's just say, if you've been watching these videos for a while, if you remember original Zendikar, the core armory deck, which is all meant to be about equipment, bear that in mind. But yeah, on their own, these effects I think are pretty good. But as we'll see, these effects are not living up to their full potential, I think, in this deck. Personally, that's what I think. But we'll get to that when we get to it. And then we've got 2 Subjugator Angel, 4 and double white for a 4/3 flying. When it enters the battlefield, tap all creatures your opponent control, which is like a really big effect, honestly. Like 6 mana for a 4/3 flyer anyway, and also just tap down your opponent's whole board, so you can swing in unopposed. So yeah, really, really solid card. But also, how is this not like an angel horror? Like, in terms of lore and stuff, seems crazy to me. It doesn't have that extra creature type personally, but yeah, whatever. Really, really solid effect. Really like it. Right, and let's talk about the 2 rares in the deck, because as you may have noticed, I've not talked about the rares in the deck. It's because they're not very good rares, in my opinion. So we have Emrakul's Evangel, so 2 and a green for 3/2. You can tap it and sacrifice Emrakul's Evangel and any number of non-Eldrazi creatures, so pretty much every creature in the deck. And you make a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token for every creature you sacrifice this way. Right. So, disclaimer, I'm not saying this is a bad card. I'm not saying that. But I'm just not sure what it's doing here, like in this deck, because like we very clearly have a human tribal effect. I suppose, like, in terms of like theme and lore, you'd be like, oh, it's because a bunch of humans and they turned into spaghetti monsters because that was the storyline. Like, we could say that, but like, as we'll see when we get to the what could have been, there was like so many better rares that could have been here instead of Emrakul's Evangel. I'm not saying it's a bad card. It's a really solid effect, because you could do this in the middle of combat. If you're going to have a bunch of creatures die, you pop this. You sacrifice everything that was going to die anyway and replace them all with spaghetti monsters, and you could absolutely do that. And I love the art for it. It's super creepy. Gives me Resident Evil 4 vibes, this artwork. It's just, but then you do that and you lose all like your human synergies and human tribal effects, I guess, and just have a bunch of them 3/2, just generic 3/2s. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not super happy with it being in here, because I think there's, as we'll see, I think there's so many much better rares this could have been, personally. But at least it fits in here, unlike Uvenvold Observer, who's the foil face rare, which is mind blowing. Because it does nothing in this deck, right? So it's 4 and double green for 6/6. So okay, like, just a big beefy 6/6. Whenever a creature you control with toughness 4 or greater dies, you draw a card. You have, right, so that's Uvenwold Observer, because it has 6 toughness, and the Bugler, the oh god, what was it called? The one that lets you search the top 4 for a human. Those 2, I think, are pretty much the only 2 creatures in this, and the Subjugator Angel, I think. No, that's a 4/3. There we go. Now, like, you do have equipment and auras in the deck that can boost things up to be higher toughness, but this is like, I think this is such a stupid choice, like, for a foil face rare for this deck. Like, and I don't say that often, right? Because I might say like, oh, this rare doesn't like fit the strategy. Like, oh, it's not a bad card. This isn't a bad card. Again, like I'm saying with the Evangel, like, it's not a bad card. It's a useful effect. It gives you a death trigger when a free death trigger and a card draw. Like, it's not a bad card. It just absolutely doesn't fit in this deck, and there were definitely much better choices that could have fit here. So like, I don't know, it's absolutely mind-boggling why this card was chosen to be the foil face rare as well. Like if it was just like the secondary rare, sure. But it's the foil face rare. It's the face of the deck, and it just has so little synergy with what goes on in it. I just really. So yeah, two pretty uninspired rares for this deck, honestly. So let's move on to the non-creature spells. So we have a single choking restraints, 2 and a white. As aura goes on a creature, it can't attack or block, so it's pacifism. You can spend 3 and double white to sacrifice to exile the enchanted creature. So we actually had this almost exact card, but like the numbers filed down to a more acceptable level in Wilds of Eldraine. We've had the is it Cooped Up? Which is basically this card. You can spend the mana to exile the creature it's attached to. I mean, like it's fine. I think it's one of the first times this kind of effect appeared on like the pacifism cards. It's fine, isn't it? It's still a pacifism effect. So we have a single Faith Unbroken. So 3 and a white. Aura goes on a creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, you exile a creature an opponent controls until Faith Unbroken leaves the battlefield, and enchanted creature gets +2/+2. So it's banishing light, but an aura, and it's +2/+2. So makes it maybe a little bit more vulnerable because it's then on a creature, and creatures can be killed. Whereas if this is normal enchantment, it can just hang out. And a lot of colors don't have a way to interact with that. Again, not saying this is like a bad card. It's just I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's perfectly okay. And then a single Hope against Hope. So 2 and a white. Aura goes on a creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for every creature you control. You're sort of going wide in this deck, so this can give a pretty big boost. As long as enchanted creature is a human, like most of the creatures in the deck are human, it also has first strike. So you can turn something into like a pretty big, beefy attacker here, right? Yeah, like a huge power toughness boost and first strike is obviously pretty good. Then a single Griff Spoon, 1 white mana, enchanted creature +1/+0 and flying, and spend 3 and a white to return Griff Spoon from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to a creature, but only as a sorcery. Again, this is fine. I've just noticed this is the wrong bloody version. This is like I think one of the D&D versions. Oh god, absolute shambles. But yeah, it's fine. It's a power boost, it's evasion, and it can come back. So yeah, it's okay. A single equestrian skill, so 3 in a green. Aura goes on a creature, gets +3/+3, and as long as it's a human, it gets trample. Again, sure, like +3/+3 and trample is pretty significant boost, so it's okay. The thing is that we've only had one of each of these so far, It's just a bit of a shame. A single Iron Rites Cleansing, 2 and a white, to exile an artifact or enchantment. Sure. It's kind of a much slower disenchant, but at least it exiles, I suppose. A single Open the Armory, so 1 and a white, you search your library for an aura equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. This is a really solid card. It's a shame there's only one of them. Like, definitely, I think should have had 2 of them in here, personally. But yeah, it's really solid. It's obviously got a few auras to show up. There are some equipment. I don't think it's living up to its full potential in this deck, just because what's here is I don't think that wonderful personally. But yeah, it's still a really solid card. Then 2 Strength of Arms, 1 white mana, target creature gets +2/+2 slant turn. If you control an equipment, you make a human soldier creature token. That's fine. But you only have 4 equipment in this deck, so that's that's not wonderful. So really it's just most of the time I think it's going to be +2/+2 for a single white mana, which is honestly that's not worth a card, personally speaking, I think. And then we have 2 Cultist Staff, 2 mana for an equipment. Equip creature gets +2/+2 and equip for 3. Like the most straightforward equipment you could have, I suppose. And 2 Slayer's Cleaver, 3 mana equipment. Equip creature that's +3/+1 and must be blocked by an Eldrazi Fable. So like we're in the last deck here of Eldritch Moon. Notice we've not had many Eldrazi show up. And that really bothers me. So if you were playing these decks against each other, that's a line of text that just does not matter, which is really, really frustrating. And I'm going to talk about it at the end here. So, and as equipped for, which is really expensive anyway. So yeah, not great bits of equipment honestly. And then 13 plains and 12 forests. So, right, let's get to the very extent of what could have been in this. So let's first, right, those 2 rares are just bad. They're just bad rares to include in here. Like, well, they're not bad cards. They're not bad cards in themselves. In the right decks, they're obviously fine. I think they just have just no synergy with what's going on in here. So if you want to be very generous, sure, the Evangel can sacrifice your stuff and turn it into spaghetti monsters, and the Somber World Observer. When one of your creatures that's been buffed up with anthem effects or like auras or equipment, when that dies, you get the card draw. But it's not great, is it? So 2, I think, alternate rares that we just should have had instead. So Heron's Grace Champion. Why was this not the foil face rare? It's like Human Matters, and it's in white green, and so 2 a green and a white for 3/3 with flash and lifelink, which is really good anyway. And when it ends the battlefield, all your humans get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until land 10. This absolutely should have been the foil face rare. And it's mind-boggling to me that it wasn't. Another alternate rare, Thalia's Lieutenant. So 1 and white for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on each other human you control, and when another human enters the battlefield under your control, Thalia's Lieutenant gets a +1/+1 counter. So again, a Human Matters card, and it's a rare, and your deck is full of humans. Again, why was this not in the deck either? Just very, very frustrating. And also, this also is Veteran Cathar, right? So 1 and a green for a 2/2. 3 and a white, target human gains double strike until end turn. So it's, again, a human tribal effect. It's in green and white. Why is it not in here? Like, this deck is just, it's just trash. I hate this deck. Like, I know that's extreme, but I just hate it. I just don't think it's very well put together at all. It's just, oh. So we're going to keep going with what could have been. So if you want to say, like, okay, well, there should be like there's an aura equipment focus, like, sure, but there's like so many better equipment cards we could have had, or auras if you want. So Slayer's Plate, this could have been an alternate rare. So 3 mana equipment, it gives the equipped creature +4/+2, which is a huge boost. It only equips for 3. And when the equipped creature dies, if it was a human, you make a spirit token. So this could have been a really fantastic bit of equipment to have in here if you wanted to make, if you wanted to do green-white kind of equipment matters, or like, Haunted Cloak, 3 mana equipment, gives the equipped creature a whole like, salad of keyword, vigilance, trample, and haste, and equips for only 1. That's really solid. Could have had that. And Thirsting Axe, so 3 mana equipment, gives the equipped creature +4/+0, which is huge. At the beginning of the end step, if the equipped creature didn't deal combat damage to a creature this turn, you sacrifice it and equip for 2. So huge boost. Slight downside, you have to keep attacking with it, you have to keep doing damage to creatures, but it's a huge boost and it only equips for 2. So if you've got things that like pump out like soldier tokens or something, perfect expendable use for this, But we're going to keep going. We're going to a third slide of what could have been. If you want to make it just like human tribal, like just go wide humans, there's some other really solid cards here. So like Woodland Patrol, I know it's like just a common, but like it's 2 and a green, 3/2 with vigilance, and it's a human, and like it's got vigilance, and like that would really appreciate having equipment or like auras on it and stuff. So like there's a card there. Tenacity is like a pretty good you're like board wide buff, like 3 and a white, gives all your creatures +1/+1 and gains lifelink and untap them. So fantastic surprise blockers moment. That could have been in here. And like Repel the Abominable, 1 and a white, prevent all damage that will be dealt this turn by non-human sources. You're playing a deck full of humans. Why is this card not in here to like be a one-sided fog effect? Like, am I going mad, right? This deck feels like it has, okay, it's like, okay, we've got some humans, like, that's fine, you started off okay, and then it just absolutely nosedives into like, oh, we've got to have some auras, and like, you've only got like 1 of each like aura, really, and then like, oh, we'll have some equipment as well, because we've got a few effects that care about equipment, like, okay, we'll have like the worst equipment we can imagine, like the most bland equipment, and like, oh, as the rare, we'll have Ulven Wild Observer that cares about creature with high toughness dying, like, but we're playing humans, and like, I know there's anthem effects and stuff, but like, it's just shit, isn't it? It's just a shit rare to have for this deck, especially when you had like Heron's Grace Champion and stuff. So yeah, I don't like this one at all. Like, it really, it really irks me that the two rares, which are arguably like one of the biggest draws for like an intro pack, just don't really match the synergy, like the deck's theme at all. So this one really, really bummed me out actually, and like just some of the card selection is just it's just like not great. It's just again pile of cards, pile of cards. So I'm actually really bummed out that this is the last proper intro pack that I was going to look at. So you know what, next video is going to be a what could have been, because there's a big spaghetti monster in the room that we haven't even talked about, like Eldritch Moon. It's a deck all about Eldrazi invading Innistrad. We've had no decks with any Eldrazi in it apart from like this one rare here. Um, yeah, so yeah, we're going to do what could have been. We're going to build a whole new deck, I think, and just yeah, because I'm not ending season 5 on this one because this is trash. I hate this deck. But what are your thoughts on this one? You know, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm too close to it. But I got really angry putting the graphics of this one together. I was so frustrated at like the deck list of it and just like how badly it was put together and like how much potential good stuff was left out. I suppose that's what really annoyed me. And just like, if you want to do green white humans, fine, but at least include good cards to do it. You know. Oh, anyway, if you got any thoughts or stories or comments, opinions about this deck, you stick them in a comment below. I'll give them a read. But yeah, we're going back next time. I'm going to do a whole what could have been. I'm going to do a whole new deck to give the Eldrazi some love. But yeah, so until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.